Hello, welcome to Noninkables. Holy moly, this weekend was insane. So we went to LCQ / North American Championships and it was crazy. There was drama. There was just a lot of stuff. So let us just get started because there's so much to talk about. So we got there Thursday night and they had a hotel block at the Disneyland Hotel that was like pretty still expensive, but cheaper than normal for a Disneyland hotel. So Disneyland hotel usually is like $590, something like that for a night. And I think with the hotel block, it was more like $300 to $400 a night. And to give kind of reference, if you stay at like one of the hotels that is right outside of the Disneyland entrance, like a Tropicana Inn or something like that, I think those are usually like $200 to $250 a night. And then if you want to stay at like the Grand Californian, that's usually like $800. So we booked at the Disneyland Hotel. We're like, there's a discount. We're never going to stay here otherwise. So let's just stay here for this. So we checked in. It was pretty cool. You can use the app to unlock your phone. Our room had like above the headboard, there was like this big art piece that was like wooden. And then there's a light switch on one of the lights and you turn it on and it plays like, when you wish upon a star, right? And then like the lights on the headboard turn on and it looks like fireworks. And so like the wooden part of the headboard looks like the castle and then there's like fireworks that are lights. So that was pretty cool. And our room faced the parking lot, but it ended up having like a really, really good view of the fireworks, which was a total surprise and totally awesome. For this event, they did not have early check-in, which they had at the other challenges, which I think was a mistake. I mean, they technically have like early check-in, but it was on Saturday from 7 to 7:30. They said there was early check-in, and I feel like it wasn't like super well publicized. So we got there around like 7:30, and there was already like a humongous line, and it only got longer as we waited in line, but like we started in the line downstairs, and it already like was going out of the hotel. And then you stay in line, you go like across where all the downstairs stuff was, and then you had to go upstairs. And then upstairs, it like went outside into the patio and then like snaked around a bunch in Disney fashion and then came back in and then snaked around a bunch. And I was like, this is, at least their line is organized. Disney knows how to do a line. And so we checked in the morning. You got badges. So they came on these yellow lanyards. If you were an attendee, so like LCQ, you got an attendee badge, which had Cusco on it. If you were a competitor, meaning you already qualified North American Championships, you got one that said competitor and it had Baymax on it. And then they gave you like a little paper bag and it has your badge in it. And then it had I want to say you already got a copy of the Cusco and Baymax card, although I can't really remember because we got a lot of them for playing in events. And so I'm not sure if we got one I don't think we got one in the initial bag. I think the initial bag had the badge and then it had your Mickey Mouse. So this is like oh my goodness, I do it like beauty influencer style. This is the Mickey Mouse card from the first chapter, and it just doesn't have any of the text. And that's supposed to be an area where you can get it signed. And they did have Mickey Mouse there, I think one of the days, and you could sign up to have Mickey Mouse sign it. I didn't do that because, I don't know, I've never really been into getting things signed. I feel like that's just another collector thing that I have to do that's kind of difficult. But I know one of our friends tried to get another card signed that had, I think, either Mickey on it or something, and the attendant for Mickey Mouse was like, no, he's only signing these specific cards, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. So it had that. And then it also had these Turbo Rush tickets. Everybody got 2 Turbo Rush tickets. And then if you made it to round 3 of the LCQ, you could get you got more Turbo Rush tickets. I think we got 3 of them. And then basically the Turbo Rush tickets you could redeem for like either Pack Rush or Constructed. And I think pretty much everybody did Pack Rush. You get the same number of packs either way. And then you also get a Cusco promo and a Baymax promo. So they're the same as the ones that are on the badges. So you've got, this one is Cusco. Let's see. Cusco, alternate art. This is the card from set 1. And then the Baymax, which is from this set. And the art looks crazy. And then it's so funny because I saw some people who had put the Baymax into their decks already. And it just didn't look like it fit the set because it's like so vibrant. Oh my gosh. It's so vibrant compared to like the normal Sapphire cards. And so you got that. And then what else did you get in there? And then I think they gave you like one of the lore keeper thingies and a map of the area. So it happened on 2 floors. So there was like the main floor, and that was where the LCQ was happening and all of the side events happened there. And then the second floor had another room that had like the vendors along the walls. There's only 3 vendors. And the one I usually trade with, Top Deck Keep, wasn't there. I don't know, maybe they weren't asked because there wasn't very much room. And then like all the Turbo Rush stuff happened up there. And then there was a separate room that I didn't get to see inside of because I was not a competitor. That where the competitors had their tournaments, and it was like, from what I heard, it was like kind of like I think kind of warm in there, and then also dark because the stream was like so much better quality. Because usually I feel like when they stream the games, there's a lot of glare from the lights. And then this time the stream was actually like really, really good. I was like, oh, I can actually read the cards. It's so nice. And so that was like Saturday morning, everybody checked in. It took a while. They let some people, so there were some issues for people coming in to Lorcana because obviously the wildfires are happening. And then also Texas had a storm, like a winter ice snowstorm. And so a lot of the flights out of Texas were canceled. One of our friends, his flight got canceled Thursday night. And so he just drove all night to get there. And so they did let some people off. I think if they had attendee tickets, they let them like buy LCQ entries essentially to be in the LCQ. And then there was like a line of people who kind of like, I think they got there at like 5 a.m. It sounded like they made their own line of like as a wait list. But all the employees, like all the people working were like, oh, we're going to release additional tickets at like this time. So just check social media, check Eventbrite website. And then they were like, we've been waiting here since 5 a.m. and we've made a line. And they're like, yeah, this is not an official line. And then I like heard part of it, and then I went to get my stuff. And so I don't know what the resolution of that was, but I thought it was interesting that they kind of just made their own line and like numbered all of them off. Like they numbered themselves off with the other people in the line. That was not like an employee told you to be in that line. And then the start was pretty rough. So the event technically started at 9, but we didn't start the first round until like 11:40 something. So it was we had the team player meeting on like maybe at 9:15, and then they just like kept repairing the pods. And it sounded like the first time they paired the pods, they paired it alphabetically. And so then a bunch of people were like in the same pod as their significant other. And then they had to like keep repairing the pods. And while we were waiting for the pods to repair, I started knitting a sock while I was at the airport. And then I knit almost the whole sock while we were just waiting for the pods to pair. So look at my sock. That's how much knitting I did. It was such a long wait. I was like, okay, good thing I brought this. But then everyone was like, I drank all this coffee and now we're doing nothing. And so round 1 really didn't start until like way later. And it was kind of a disaster. Yeah. And I don't know why they were having so many issues. I think also like it took so long for everyone to get checked in since they didn't have the early check-in, even though like most people were already there. And so I think getting everyone checked in took them until like maybe, I think 10 o'clock is what people said. And so they had to wait for everybody to be checked in before they could do the pods. And then they were having trouble doing the pods. And so, yeah, I forgot to mention also in the gift bag was the Cinderella pin. And focus doesn't block my face, but then I can't. The Cinderella pin. So it's the alternate art from, what is this card? I think it is the alternate art from like the promo Cinderella cards. And it's on a pin. It has like a little thing on the bottom that kind of looks like it's like promo or whatever. So that was another thing that was included. Okay, so my LCQ experience. I made it to round 3 and I feel like I lost for such a dumb reason. And I was like, it was just kind of frustrating. Not so much, I wasn't like angry or anything. It's just a stupid reason. So the way LCQ worked was it was best of 3. You got 70 minutes, so more time than usual. And then whoever wins moves on, right? 5 rounds total to qualify into the championship the next day. We were in pods of 32. And my first round, I went up against Jeffrey, and he was playing yellow steel. I won the die roll, and he also super bricked on the first game. So Jeffrey, I think, was local to the Anaheim area. I think he was from Pasadena, and he started playing second set. He had a lot of time to talk. And so first I just remember first game, turn 1, he inked an Imperial Bow, and then he passed. Turn 2, he inked an Imperial Bow and passed, which was not a great start. I was playing red-blue, so I looked at like a bunch of red-blue lists, and then I finally whittled it down to 60 cards and took like I would say a pretty standard red-blue. Took out the super goofs I was running before, so nothing too spicy in there. I would say like no spice. And he was playing Amber Steel, and it was kind of like Amber Steel song, sort of, but he had 0 to Hero in his deck, and he also had both Tianas. So both the Amber Tiana, restaurant owner, that your opponent has to pay 3 to, or else they have -3 attack. And he also had the Tiana in Steel, that's like if you have no cards, your opponent can't play actions, which I think would be good, except that like it dies to Medusa and Sisu, and yeah. So the first game I won, I was on the play. He got to 9 lore. I think at that time I was like 13, and so I easily won, but I think it's also because he really, really bricked. At some point I played Pirate's Life because he went down in lore, it looks like, from when I wrote down. Second game, I was on the draw and I lost. He got a bunch of lore super fast. So it was like 2, 6, 8, 11, 13, 18, and then I got 2 lore. So he was already at 18. And then I kind of kept him at 18. I went 6, 12. He's doing good. And then I think he had something on board that I couldn't get rid of. And so he just quested and won. And then oh, no, hold on. Wait, just kidding. I confused myself. Okay, so if you look at my score sheet, it looks like there's 3 games, right? But this is actually a pack rush that I played with Brian. So really, I won the second game. So he got to 18 lore, I held him there, and then I won. Okay, so I 2-0'd him. I was like, okay, great, I'm doing good. My heart rate is still very high. I'm still panicking. The second round, I played against a red-purple deck. I won the die roll. I went first. And it looks like I got lore before them, which I think is kind of weird for a red-purple deck. But like I was at 3 lore before they got their first lore. And then I kind of stalled in getting lore. I think I got to 6. They were at 7. They went all the way up to 10. And then I was at 7. And then I apparently played a Pirate's Life because I went to 9. They went to 8. And then after that, they didn't get any more lore and I won. The second game, I think, was a lot closer. They got to 7 lore before I got anything. And then I got a bunch of lore and got to 8. And then they were at 9. And then it was kind of like, I get lore, they get lore. I get lore, they get lore, blah, 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 right? And then I think in that game, I ended up getting like a Maui shark out and doing Pirate's Life because it was, I think I may have done Pirate's Life twice because it looks like it was 13 me, 17 them. And then the next score I have is 17 me, 13 them. So it sounds like, I think this is what happened. I played a Pirate's Life. I attacked a character. I got back the Pirate's Life and I sang it with the other Maui shark or something like that. But by the time I won, I had only 3 cards left. So that was kind of crazy. They played RP, but it had Imperial Proclamation, which is like when you challenge a character, you pay 1 less for the next character you played. And at one point they had 2 Imperial Proclamations out. And so I had to kind of play around allowing them to challenge my characters because I think in one turn they challenged one of my characters with like a Cogsworth, the Rush 1-drop, and then also a Fox. And they had 2 Imperial Proclamations, so then they could play like a goat for free. And I was really afraid they were going to play literally like in Elsa on turn 4, like a big Elsa. But they didn't have that, so I was lucky. And then they also had the Namari that is in red, where it's like when you deal damage to a character, you can deal the same amount of damage to another character. So everyone was calling that splash damage, which I guess I kind of know from video games. So it's interesting because you had to, I feel like when you don't play like a regular meta deck, you have to think more because it's like, okay, let me read your card. What does it do? And then you're like, okay, how do I play around this? It's like when people play Emerald Chromacon and Maleficent stuff. And then I'm just like, okay, if I attack you, this happens and this happens and this happens. And so just like considering those things. So I beat that person. I was feeling pretty good. Went on to round 3, got my extra turbo tickets. I lost the die roll. It was a mirror, red, blue. And our first game, I went second. And I lost, although it was a little bit close. I got to 14 lore. They were at 16. And then they kind of controlled the board and got to 20. The second game, I went first. And I blew them out of the water. I got to 18 lore. They were only at 5. And they were playing like a red-blue that had Great Stone Dragon and Develop Your Brain and Vision. And so I feel like their turns took a long time because they were just filtering through their decks so much. And like every time you play Develop Your Brain, every time you play Visions, you have to like make a decision about what card you want to take. And that takes time. So you got to think. And so we went to time by the end of our second game. It was time. And then the third game, we started on turns. And he went first. And so he won because he got a Tipo. I think turn 1, he played a Popsicle. Turn 1, I played a Popsicle. Turn 2, he played a Tipo. And then my turn, I didn't have a Tipo, so I had a Sail. And then his turn, he played a Hero. And I think I played a Baby Sisu to take away the Hero. And then he quested again with Tipo. Played the Hero, quested with Tipo. I took away the Hero with Sisu. He quested with Tipo. And I think he played a Sisu, got rid of my Sisu. So he had 2 lore, had 0. And so he won and went on to the next round. Which I think is so stupid because I think if we played it out, I would have won. The first game I think I lost because I had such bad hands that first game. Like my hand was like Brawl, Maui, and B Prep at some point. And I was like, I just need like anything that's blue. I need to see more cards. And like I had in that first game gotten rid of, I think 3 Tamatoas. And I hideawayed his Lucky Dime. One of them I had to do Tamatoa, Lucky Dime. Got rid of both in one turn. So I feel like I played really well. So it kind of sucked that I lost because of kind of like, not even a technicality, just like something stupid. If we had more time, or if maybe both of us played faster, it would have been like a more accurate result of our playing abilities, which kind of sucked. But I mean, at least I got those Turbo Rush tickets. So that was kind of end of LCQ for me. I felt like I played really, really well. And in one of my games, so in my round 2 game, at some point I saw DeCandio watching our game, and that was like a little nerve-wracking. And then one of our locals came and talked to me during the second game, like while it was going on, which is a little bit annoying. He was like, "Oh, what game are you on?" I was like, "Second game." He's like, "Who won game 1?" I was like, "Me." And then like he's talking so loudly, and I was just like, "Please go away, disturbing the game." Should call the judge on him. Anyways. And then like, I knew that Brian was nearby, but he knows that I get stressed out. And so he stood like pretty far back, like behind me so he could see my hand. And then at some point, I guess Tyler was also there. And in that game, I did double. Oh no. Okay. I totally remember. So I had said that I Maui Sharked, whatever. That was a different game. In that game, I played double Maui Shark. And then my next move was going to be Sisu Dime and then I drew into Tamatoa. So I did Tamatoa Dime. But Tyler's watching and said, like, he watched the end of the game and he was like, "Oh, you played that perfectly." And I was like, "Yes, I'm learning. I'm getting better. It's so great." Okay, so I feel like I played really, really well. I do think that I got a little bit lucky in my matchups, I suppose. I didn't match into any hyper aggro. And I think the loss was something dumb. I think for the rest of our friends, a lot of people got out in round 1. Because if you think about it, it's single elimination, right? So like half the people get out each round. So a lot of people got left out in round 1, which kind of sucks because like for the LCQ, it's like so much harder than I feel like DLC because you have to be lucky that you get like a good matchup. You have to get lucky that you get playable hands. And then you also have to be good. Like it's so many things and a lot of them are out of your control. I think Tyler made it to round 4. He ended up matching with a local Charles. I think his melee name is Charizard. And Tyler got unlucky. He was playing green steel and basically his hand had like no songs. If he had just had a song, he would have probably been like won, which kind of sucks. I think Brian got out the first round. He played against a green purple. He was also playing green steel. And then a lot of our other friends got out the first round because they just got either unlucky or like an unlucky pairing or unlucky hand, which kind of sucks. But I mean, in the end, I was like a little bit happy that I didn't make it because I think had I made it, I would have been so stressed out. But maybe it would have been good practice of being stressed out. And I feel like I know that I get very stressed out because 1, I can feel it in my body that I'm panicking. And also like I wear an Oura ring now, so it doesn't like vibrate and stuff and tell me that my heart rate is high. But when I used to wear like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, it would be like, "You are not moving and your heart rate is very high. Are you okay?" And like the Aura Ring I'll check later and it'll be like, oh, you burned a bazillion calories from panic, essentially. And like you look at the little heart rate chart and you can tell exactly like when the round started. So yeah, just didn't make it through LCQ, but it was a fun experience. I don't know if I would do it again. It was so stressful. I would probably just try to do more DLCs and qualify that way. And I feel like this is another moment. I had one of these, I think in set 4 when I was playing Red Purple, where I felt like, oh, I've gotten so much better. Like I can feel that I've gotten a lot better all of a sudden. And like, it's like, I don't know, like my third eye's opening and I can see like I've moved up a level in terms of playing. So if you watch my levels video, I talk about like level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever. And I feel like I've hopped up a level, right? So like instead of just thinking about what I want to play, I have to think about what my opponent wants to play. And then I feel like I was able to almost judge this time like, oh, they haven't played. If they had this card, they would have played it already. Like that part clicked. And I was like, oh, if they had this card, they would have played it already, but they haven't. So they probably don't have this card. So I'm probably safe doing this, that kind of stuff. And so I feel like I got a lot better. So I was feeling pretty good. So Saturday, we played in the 9 a.m. Core Constructed. So for that one, you got a Baymax promo. Oh, for the LCQ, you got a Dragonfire promo, like the usual stuff. But for the Saturday 9 a.m., you got a Baymax promo, and it was a 5-round best of 2 constructed. And I think you had to be like 401 there was only prizing for the top 16, which is insane. So it's like 500 people and only the top 16 get any prizing. I guess technically everybody got the Baymax for participation, right? So I feel like because of that system, if you lost like your first round, a lot of people just left, like they dropped from the tournament because there's like no way you would make it to top 16. So there's no reason to stay because you're not getting like additional packs or anything. You're not getting any tickets. There's no prize wall. So yeah, I did end up playing. I want to say I played 3 rounds. Yeah, I played 3 rounds of that one. And then I went 1-1-1 and I was like, it's over. No, it was okay. I think I went 1-1. Nope, that's a lie. I did 2 ties. Let's see. I did 2 ties and a loss. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be in this. I'm going to leave and go get lunch instead. So, but it was super fun while I was playing and it was fun to play people, meet new people. But I definitely think that because there's no prize ball, like there was no incentive to keep playing. And then like a lot of people just signed up for stuff, got their promo and left, especially towards the end of the day, which we'll talk about. So on Saturday, while people were trying to qualify for the top 16 or whatever to play in the North American Championships, I was playing in the 9 a.m. Core Constructed. And the first round I played Justin, who was on Blue Steel. And in the first game, I got milled, okay? Which, I feel like I picked up this deck a week before LCQ. And I downloaded Sailor's Guide while I was at the airport on Thursday and read it. Shout out to Sailor. Thank you so much for making that guide. And so like not everything had cemented in my brain. And like partway through, I was like, after he played like the second Whole New World, I was like, oh no, I think I'm drawing too much from Hiram, but I want to find the answers. And so like I was at 17 lore and was going to win the next turn. And he was at 7 lore. And then I got milled. I only had 3 cards left. And so I lost because of that. And I will never make that mistake again. I was on the play that time. The second game, I was on the draw. And we went to turns and I won that one. I think I was at 14. He was at 16. He couldn't win that turn. The next turn I had Tomato a dime. So I won. I had Tomato out already. So Tomato could quest and I could dime him. And so we drew and I was like, okay, I'm never get milled again. What the heck? Round 2, I played against Diggy Hole. Aggro. My opponent rolled a 12. I rolled a 2. And so they went first. On the draw, I lost. I got no lore. They went to 19. On the play, I lost. I got to 2 lore, and by that time they're at 10, and then it was too fast. I couldn't do it with red blue. Round 3, I think I played, I'm not even sure. Oh, I think I played against Hyper Aggro. First game I was on the draw, and I actually won that game, which I was super surprised about. I was at 6 lore, they're at 8 lore, and it looks like I went to 9 lore, they're at 14 by that point. And then I just held them there. And then they eventually only got to 15 lore before I won. And then the second game, I was on the play and I got smoked. They went to 17 and I only got to 3. I was like, this is not fun. And then I played in a 3 p.m. Let's see, let me find the right, I like saved all the papers. Let me find the right paper. I played in a 3 p.m. constructed, which was best of 3, and we were playing for pack per win. I played against Hyper Aggro Carlos on yellow purple. First game I was on the draw, I lost 4-19. Second game I was on the play, I won. It was 20-11. Third game I was on the draw, I lost 2-20. And then round 2, I played another Hyper Aggro, and surprisingly, we played 3 games. So part of it, I think, was just jokes, though. So first game, I was on the draw, and I lasted way longer than I thought. I actually got to 11 lore before they won. Second game, I was on the play, and I was able to get, this is where I was able to get 2 Maui Sharks out and do Pirate's Life stuff. And it was really funny because we were like talking the whole time, having a great time. And then I was like talking about my YouTube channel, and then and how it got milled earlier in the day. And then he played like 2 Amethyst Chromacons and kept drawing. He's like, maybe I can mill you with my Amethyst Chromacon. And he eventually had like 3 Amethyst Chromacons. And I think I had like 14 cards in my hand. And I was like, am I going to get milled by Hyper Aggro? This is so weird. He's like, no, just do it for content, which is so funny. And then the last game I was on the draw and I got smoked. He was like 19-4. And then I had also signed up for a 5 p.m. And I basically was like, hey, I'm just here to get the Cusco promo, and let's just play best of 1 for the pack. And I can't remember who I played, like what colors they played. I didn't write it down, I think because I was tired. It might have been red purple. Definitely wasn't Hyper Aggro. But they got to 14 lore and I was at 6, and then I got to 14, they were at 18, and then I controlled and got to 20. So I ended up winning the 1 pack, and then I just dropped because I was like, I want to go eat dinner because I'm hungry, and like, I don't need to stay for pack per win. Like, that's not a very good prize. So essentially, like all the things that you could sign up for, the core, so there's core competitive constructed, which you get a Baymax for. That's the 5-round one. There's like 2 a day, or 2 total for the weekend, both at 9 a.m. And then there's like a bunch of little constructors that are 3 rounds. Pack per win, that one you get the Cusco. So the Cusco's like $70, and the Baymax was at like 100, probably less now, that there's more of them in circulation. And then there were like a bunch of other tournaments like Sealed Box and like 3v3 multiplayer and all these other ones. And those ones were more expensive. And so you would get the Baymax promo. We didn't do any of those. And then on Sunday, I played in another 9 a.m. core constructed. And in that one, I was like, okay, I don't want to play any more blue-red because I keep matching into Hyper Aggro and I'm sick of getting smoked. And so I basically borrowed Tyler's deck. He made some adjustments. He gave me like a quick rundown of how to play it at dinner over hot pot, which is like our team tradition. I love hot pot. It's so good. I would literally eat hot pot every day if I could. And so he kind of gave me a little rundown. I think I played a couple games on Ink Table and then off to the races. In that tournament, I did play all 5 rounds because I was like, I want to practice. Maybe I'll play this for set champs. First person I match into is Serafina from Sacramento. So like a local, basically. I had met her, I think, at like Games of Berkeley or something at some set champs. And then she was at Game Castle a couple weeks ago. And then obviously at Gold Star. It was best of 2. The first game I was on the play, I won. The second game I was on the draw and I lost because at one point she had double piglets and I had an Ursula, but I don't think I had any songs, which sucked. And I was like, ugh. And then she got to 18 and I didn't have enough removal. So we drew, just playing yellow steel songs, basically. Round kind of songs. I think she said she made the deck that morning. There was a lot of that day. Round 2, I played Jonathan, who was on Amber Steel's song, and he actually had played Brian the day before, I think, in the core constructed. I lost the die roll, but I won both games. First game, I got to 7. I won, and he was only at 4. Second game, I was doing really good. I got to 12. He was at 5. And then he kind of wiped my board, and he got to 16. And then I was at 14, and then it was a lot. I feel like that game was so much thinking, which is the funnest part, I think, about playing green steel is like thinking like, okay, which one do I attack with Calhoun? Which one do I use Ursula to sing a song? What do I play at what time to like counter what they're going to do? When do I Pete? also when do I play 2-droppers? There was like so much puzzles and math and thinking. And like one of the turns I remember, like I had a hidden cove out and I had a Smee, and I was like, okay, I can either attack. He had out a 2 Pete's, a Gaston Singer 3/3, and a Rapunzel 1/5, right? And I think I could choose to either trade into the Rapunzel, and then my 2 characters would survive, or I could take out a Pete and a Gaston, right? So lore-wise, it's the same. But then at first I was like, oh, if I take out the Rapunzel, my stuff will survive. But then I was like, then he has the ability to kill my cove, and then it'll be harder for me to take out his other characters, like the next turn. And then I'll have like no board and it'll be really difficult. So I ended up taking out the Gaston and the Pete that were exerted and leaving the Rapunzel. And he was like, oh, why did you do that? And I was like, part of it, I forgot that like, I was like, oh, Smee's at Hidden Cove. So even if he has 3 damage, he'll survive. I forgot that he gets an additional damage and then would have been banished anyways, right? So that was partly because I didn't do the math right. But also like, I was like, I think it's more important for me to take out your high strength characters. So now you only have 4 strength on board. You can't do anything to my cove. And I feel like the cove was important. And so I ended up winning that one, but it was like very intense at the end. And after that, I was like, this is so much fun. I love these puzzles of green steel. It's so fun. Next one, I played red purple. I won the die roll. I mulliganed not well because I didn't know I was playing against red purple, first of all. And I should have kept my opening hand, the initial hand I got, because I had 2 Cursed Merfolk in my first hand. And then I think I was trying to mulligan for the Diablo, and I didn't. I think I like didn't get a 1-drop in the end, so that was my own fault. So like in the beginning, it looked like I was doing pretty good. I got to 9 lore, and then they were at 2, and then they just kept getting lore controlling the board. Second game, I was on the draw, and like I think I got to 17 lore, and then they kind of wiped my board, and I couldn't come back from that. I think they played a bunch of libraries or something. So then I was like, okay, right now I'm like 1-1-1. This is probably not going to make top 16. Like there was less people in this one, so there's only 300 people instead of 500 people. But I was like, with a loss in there, I don't think I'm going to make it, but I should practice. And so I kept playing. I think the day before, like Tyler was 302 or something like that, and didn't make it to the top. I think it'd be 401. And then one of the 401s didn't even make it. And so round 4, I played against green purple. I played against Jasmine. Super cool. I lost the die roll. I went second, but I won 2-0. And I think she's kind of like a newer player, and she did a lot of, like, she played it like she was playing an aggro deck, so she let my board get super wide, and I would control her board and then quest, and she like not do anything with my board, she would just quest. And so I think because of that, it was just probably misplays or like inexperience. And then we also did play a 3rd game for fun, and I won. But like we talked about it, and I feel like she learned stuff. And like, I feel like that was me a lot of times. So it's interesting to be in the position to teach other people things. And then the last round I played against red purple, we were like, oh, let's just do best of 1 for the pack. Was it for the pack? No, I think we just said, let's do best of 1. Cause like we'd have to 2-0 for either of us to even have a remote chance. And I lost. And so I just need to figure out how to play red purple, because there's a lot of red purple in this area. If I'm going to play this at set champs, I'm going to have to learn how to play it. And yeah, and then in between all these things, we did play Pack Rush with all of our turbo tickets. I didn't pull in an enchanted this time, but I think I did pull like a genie and like a Lilo, so not horrible pulls. There was a first chapter sealed. I wasn't able to get on that list, but one of her friends, Tinc, she pulled a Hades enchanted at the sealed, which is pretty cool. And so now we're back trying to recover. I'm trying to like practice, and I took a bunch of cards to trade at the challenge. Basically, I traded for like all the set 6 ones that I was missing. So now we have like a full complete set. And then I also bought a playset. No, I bought 2 playsets of Diablos, which is kind of a big purchase and insane. But they were like, I would say $25 less than they were listed on TCG Player. And so I was like, ooh, steel. Let me just sneak in while green steel is not popular. And then the night before the championship, so Saturday night, you could see all the deck lists in Dreamborn. I'll put a link in the description, but you can like click on the person's name and see the deck list. And we looked at Ed's deck list, and I was like, oh, 4 Tremaines. And I was like, maybe we should buy more Tremaines. Well, Brian was like, maybe we should buy more Tremaines. And I was like, let's do it. It's only like $70. And so we bought 3 Tremaines before dinner, like waiting for dinner. And then the next day after Ed won, congratulations to Ed, Bay Area local. I'm still scarred from that one time I played against you. From, I think like after he won, we checked TCG Player and the lowest verified listing for Tremaine was like 180 or like $200. And I was like, wow, this is insane because this happened after, so Fort Worth, right after he won Fort Worth, and he was playing like red purple with Big Sisu. Like, oh, we should get Big Sisu. So we bought a bunch of Big Sisus at like 90 something dollars. And now Big Sisus are like 150, 190, like up in that higher 100s range. And I was like, should we just do this? And I was like, well, I don't know, because it's hard to predict who's going to win. But yeah, so overall, I think the experience was super good. Ooh, I also had an interesting experience on Saturday night. So after everyone was done, we were all done playing in like a course. We were just hanging out with Tyler. We were kind of like waiting to get hungry before going to Hot Pot because it wasn't all you can eat. And so we were just kind of hanging out with like, so like Tyler knows a bunch of people because he was pretty active on Pixelborn, and like, I feel like all the high level players know each other because they always play against each other because they match into each other. And so we were hanging out with them, and like Tyler was playing against one of his friends. His friend was playing like a blue steel with like Alice and stuff, and John Silver, and then Tyler was playing his green steel. And then it was so funny because like he was also like trying to teach me how to play green steel real quick before I played it on Sunday. And like one of the ones, it was like, oh, we're super dead. Like they have so much stuff on board. Everything has ward, right? And then he top decked a Cricky and was like, oh, this is exactly the card we needed. Perfect. And there's one in the deck, right? And then at some point they switched decks. And so the other guy was playing the green steel and Tyler's playing the blue steel. And then there was like a turn where the other guy was like, oh, I'm cooked. Like my people are all so little and yours all have ward. I can't do anything, right? And then he also top decked a Cricky, and I was like, this is hilarious. It's like the exact same thing happened. But I feel like that hanging around with that crew, like there were like the two, I think, twin brothers that were in the like in the championships. And then one of them ended up being like top, like making the cut. And one of them was like top 32 or something. But there was like all these very, very high level players, like top, I would say basically at least top 64 in North America, if not like top 32, top 16. And I was feeling in that moment like, I wish this was Space Jam and I could be like those aliens that just like, who suck like the basketball ability from like Michael Jordan and whatever. Well, I guess not Michael Jordan, all the other people. I wish I could be one of those aliens and just like suck their Lorcana power so that I could learn. Or maybe they could just teach me and we do none of that creepy stealing other people's power thing. But I was like, wow, I feel like I'm surrounded by like just very good people. And then like every once in a while, like Ed would pop in and we'd be like, how you doing? And he's like, we made it, guys. And then the next day I'm in the top 16, right? Yeah, it was crazy. They had like a pit for like a lower down area that had a bunch of chairs so you could watch the stream. It was like on a big projection screen. And there was like, you could stand around and we were at like the tables near it watching. And it was just so funny because I think like the casters were like right behind the stage casting. And so like they basically, you would like something would happen and then the audience would like make all this noise and then the casters would like react to it, which I think was pretty funny. And they did announce, I guess they didn't really announce anything, but they did show a picture for Azurite C of Lady from Lady and the Tramp. And she looked adorable. And I was like, oh my gosh, if there's going to be a Tramp card, because Tramp looks so much like our dog, because our dog is a miniature Schnauzer. And I was like, if there's a Tramp card, definitely that's going to be my chase card because it looks like our dog. But yeah, that was a cool experience for me to be around all these high level players and they're like talking about their thoughts about decks and card choices and all these other things. And it was just like, I'm just happy to be here and learn. This is so cool. And then what else? There were a lot of disqualifications. I think there was like 4. I don't have any like real evidence or knowledge from like the judges per se. It's all just hearsay, but like one person had like, I think dropped a card at some point and so played a couple rounds missing a card from his deck, so then it was a legal deck. And I was like, oh, that kind of happened to Tyler at Battle of the Bay. And in that case, like he was playing 5 Prince Johns, so they took out the extra Prince John. which brought his card count to 60, right? Which made his deck illegal. So then he got an automatic game loss, and then he was allowed to play the rest, right? And I think for this person, it was the same. He was playing with like a 59 card deck, so then he got an automatic game loss. They let him play. I think he played a game, he won, and then they disqualified him, which seems weird and inconsistent with a previous ruling that had happened. And then, like, somebody else it happened because they were playing with a card that wasn't in their deck list, and like they self-reported, I heard. And yeah, so, and then I don't know about the other ones, but there seemed to be quite a few, and I was like, ooh, wow, things are really like, I'm surprised, because I feel like Lorcana is usually so nice, and everyone is so nice, and like even like I've met now a lot of these like top players, and I feel like they're all really, really nice. And I mean, every once in a while you meet somebody who's like a little rule sharky and stuff, but overall people are pretty good. So it was kind of surprising that there's so many disqualifications. Also, like I was talking to one of the people I played on Sunday, and he, in his LCQ, he played somebody who he said they had played, I think like a rabbit, and then the next turn they played a Pete and they didn't quest, and then he played something, and then like the next turn he was gonna, so like 2 turns after the Pete had been played, he was gonna play B prep to clear the board because they hadn't quested or anything. And his opponent called the judge and said, I just played the Pete. And he was like so dumbfounded that somebody was like lying, basically, that he didn't know what to say. And so in the end, I think the judges like shuffled his deck and like randomly took out some cards or something. Anyways, it took out the Be Prepared, whatever. And so he ended up like losing. And I was like, that's so, and he was like, I didn't know like if I should just be like, no, she didn't play the Pete, but like, how am I going to prove that she didn't play the Pete? And I was like, how do you prove that? Like, what's to prevent somebody from just lying about that? I also learned, okay, so this is a good educational point for all of us, because I feel like we should always learn from other people's mistakes. So as always, make sure you check your deck and it has the cards that you say that are in the deck. Check it with the deck list that you've submitted. Make sure you have 1, all of your cards, 2, not too many cards, and 3, it's the same cards, since that has led to issues multiple times. So that's something easy that we can all do. And number 2 is, I forgot my train of thought already. So number 1, make sure that your deck is correct. Oh, my train of thought. Oh, I remember. Okay, a lesson that one of the judges kind of explained that I heard from somebody else. So if you play a Pete, you have to say, like, I play a Pete, no actions. You have to like announce the no actions part. And then the next turn, if they try to play an action and you said no actions, then it's their fault. Versus if you just played a Pete and you didn't say no actions, then it becomes your fault. And I think it changes like how they rule. So good to know. It's just like when we learned from one of the DLCs, you say draw for beast and then draw for turn, draw for Queen's Castle, then draw for turn, stuff like that. So, good to just practice saying everything out loud. Even if you're playing online, just be a weirdo, say it out loud. I guess if you're like playing, publicly, maybe say it under your breath, but practice saying everything out loud, because that is important and can make or break you at one of these official tournaments where rules are very strictly followed. But yeah, overall, I would say a pretty fun event. It was great hanging out with people. I think it was a little tough, like so many people's dreams got dashed from LCQ, and like a lot of really good players that I have lost to many times got out in round 1, whereas I made it to round 3 and I was like, ooh, sometimes it's just luck. And the fact that I got out of round 3 because we went to turns and it was so, I'm still a little bit bitter about that, but like, it just, I think, gives me more fire to do better in the future so that I don't end up in a situation where I have to qualify through an LCQ where I can just, like win in DLC or something. I don't know. But I'm still having a lot of fun playing this game. I get excited, I think, every time I find like a new line for a deck that I haven't done before. Sometimes even when it's something stupid. So I think in one of the like core constructed tournaments, I was playing against Hyper Aggro and I was like, I really need to ramp or else I have no chance, right? Like I have to ramp to add like Tecton Goofies. I have to ramp to the Goofy or like a Sisu or a Maui Shark or something, or else I'm not going to have a chance, right? And I didn't have ramp. And so I played Hideaway on my own Popsicle, which was probably not the right choice. But I was like, interesting, fun idea. Let's try it. This is like a low stakes game. But yeah, stuff like that I think is very exciting for me, which is now why I'm like a little bit like, oh, maybe I should play Green Steel because there's so many fun puzzles. Although my initial problem with playing Green Steel was I was like, why are all the characters just little butts? They can't attack anybody and they can't trade evenly and they're so little. And it felt bad to like discard someone's hand and then they just like top deck a genie or a rabbit or a Hiram. And I was like, I just drew away your hand. So I don't know. I'm slowly working through that and I'm trying to like really think about my games more on Lord Canito instead of just like crushing through games and not reflecting. I think that is very important in learning how to get better. And I hope they announce the times for the DLCs this like soon because girls got a plan, right? And we do plan on going to more DLCs. And what else? Oh, Set Champs is coming up. So Set 6, Set Champs, you win the Scar. I think we've signed up for maybe like 3 or 4 of them. Pretty much like by the time they announced Set Champs, I already had my schedule for this quarter and I am working some weekends. And so I'm trying to like switch around and see if I can go to more, but probably not. So I'm just going to have to do really good at the ones I can go to. The first one we're going to is this Saturday at Games of Berkeley. I signed up for that ages ago and I'm very excited because last time I didn't get to play at Games of Berkeley because I didn't sign up correctly. But I bought the ticket in the right place this time. And so I'm excited because it's going to be sponsored by Jesbian again, who I love. And she does such cute, fun pricing. And I also need another tiny little lore book counter. Oh, I did see somebody told me that they use like bulk cards to make like, they laminate them and then they're like the outer covers. And then they put like paper in between and then spiral bound it. And those are their little lore counters and it fits in your deck box. And I was like, oh, I got to figure out how to make that. Maybe I should just outsource it and stop trying to make everything on my own. I do not need another DIY machine. I still need to work on how to make those foil mats. So many projects. So maybe I should slow my roll and not do so many. So Games of Berkeley is our first one. Our second one will be VPC, which is on Sunday. I think I might take Green Steel. I might take Red Blue. I feel a little bit more comfortable with Red Blue, I would say. But if I match into Hyper Aggro, which I know there will be if Jesbian is there because she always plays Hyper Aggro, I will die. Because Red Blue is like, Hyper Aggro is like Daisy. And you're like, okay, Popsicle. And then they're like, Piglet. And you're like, okay, Tipo. And then they play like Piglet Daisy. And you're just like, Grandma or Hiram or maybe Super Goof. But like, that's really not helpful. And so I would just cry. So I think I definitely need to like adjust for the local meta. Maybe like a Queen of Hearts or something if I play Red Blue. But I think there's going to be, for our local meta, I think a lot of some Hyper Aggro, definitely some Green Purple, and some Steel Song. There's some Red Purple. It's like a pretty mixed meta, but there's definitely Hyper Aggro. And so I think maybe Green Steel might be better if I can learn to play it before then. I don't know. I'm probably going to play one of the two. And then the next weekend, I think we're not doing any Set Champs just because I have work. And then after that, I think we're doing I think I signed up for King Kong. And then partly because they start at 9 in the morning, which is super nice. And then I think the weekend after that, I wanted to do NorCal because they have pretty good prize support. And I've also never played in their Set Champs because I'm always working. But of course, I'm still working. And so I'm trying to switch my shifts so I can play in that one. But I don't know. I hope to do better. I feel like I've gotten better, but I also do feel like, you know, when you feel like you've gotten better, but like you need more reps to like fully understand the deck, that's where I feel like I am right now. And sometimes I do think like, oh, if I'd only just like picked a deck at the beginning and stuck with it instead of switching around through every single deck, maybe I would be better at this deck. But then I also feel like if I didn't switch around to every other deck, I wouldn't know how to play those decks so well, right? Because I know what they're supposed to do because I've tried to do it. So I don't know. I just wish I had more time in the world. It'd be cool if I could like always do Lorcana and spend more time on Lorcana. And I am kind of considering, like I was thinking about doing a ton of like leadership-y stuff for work. And sometimes I'm like, do I want to deal with that headache or do I just want to go to work and do work and then play Lorcana? But yeah. Oh, another exciting thing. We reached 500 subscribers this weekend, which is super exciting. That is like a landmark, I think, in YouTube creation because you have to have at least 500 subscribers before you can monetize your YouTube. I'm still missing like a bunch of, you have to have like a certain number of view hours. So I would definitely need like another video to go viral for that. Oh my gosh, I forgot one of the biggest drama things that happened this weekend. So our friend John was in the LCQ. He got a bye his first round. Weird, right? A bye his second round. Also weird. Third round, they DQ'd him. So what happened was that there were 33 people in his pod, so he didn't match into anybody, which is kind of their fault for, like, I guess not being able to count. Maybe he could have brought it up earlier and been like, why did I get a bye? But you know how like sometimes when you're playing in like a set champs, you get a bye, you're like, okay, this is great. I'm winning at life. I have good luck, right? You don't think too much of it. I think something like that happened. But it's like they DQ'd him and it was kind of their fault for putting him as a 33rd person in a pod. But he got DQ'd. So it was like a horrible LCQ experience. And basically like, I don't know if he got like disqualified or if they just kind of like cut him from LCQ because he didn't play anybody. And I was like, that's so, like, guys, come on, get it together. I realize this is the first one, but they did it in the EU. And I think there was an issue in that one too, where like an extra person qualified. But like, come on. So, yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, oh, I should definitely talk about that on the podcast because that's insane. That's such a horrible experience to have. But yeah, okay. So LCQ happened. It was great times. Oh, we also got a coupon for the cast member store. And so we got a bunch of stuff off super cheap. One of the things is this headband I'm wearing, which I love, which I think is made for children, but I love it. And I will do a video on all the other stuff that I bought at Disney because I bought a bunch of stuff. I guess I'll include the cards on there too. Might as well. So that video is coming. I am also going to be doing some unboxings probably today of the first chapter boxes that have been sitting here for like a week now, calling my name. And I was like, no, I got to wait until after LCQ. And now it's after LCQ, so it's time to open the boxes. So those will also be going up on the channel shortly. And that's it. Keep shuffling. Hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables like me. Oh, and another phrase that I came up with over the weekend that I kept repeating to myself like a mantra is think before you ink. Because I had some turns where I would like ink something like, ah, shoot, that's not what I wanted to ink. I wanted to ink something else. And like, luckily, my opponents were chill. And like, I was like, oh no, that's not what I want to ink like immediately after. And they didn't like call a judge or anything. But they could have. And they would have been like, you already inked it. You have to do it now. And I think one time I was like, oh, I play a popsicle. I was like, oh no, I don't. I don't want to do that. So think through your whole turn, maybe twice before you do it. And don't be like me because, yeah. So keep shuffling, think before you ink. Those are the two things. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a little bit longer because so much stuff happened. And of course, I will update you on how Set Champs is going and preparations and all that stuff. And my plans for this year are to get like way better. I want to get way, way better. I want to become elite, essentially. One, because I want to be like a better testing partner for Tyler because I feel like he's really good. And it's mostly him teaching us things. And I want to like be able to, because I know he tests with other people who are more his level. And I want to be like good and get up there so that I can also be one of those people. Also, I just want to do well and continue because it's going to suck if I don't get any better and I just keep making videos about how I am not getting any better and that's boring. So, of course, I want to get better. I think Brian's in the same boat as I am. And that's it for me this week. Look for these upcoming videos. All right. Bye.